Okay, welcome everybody here, councillors, our operational team and all those online. Opening information for this meeting: seek knowledge for understanding, have purpose in all that you do, stand tall, be strong, let us show respect for each other. Okay, moving on to apologies. We have an apology from Councillor Ashley Cashin. Do we have any other apologies? Okay, do I have a mover for that? Yep. Thank you, Mark. Seconder? Thank you, Alan. All in favour? Against? Motion carried. Next, declarations of interest. I call for any declarations of interest in terms of agenda items. There being none, we'll move on. Late items. Not aware of any late items. Okay. Okay, Chair's report. A very short Chair's report today, just so everybody's aware, in the intervening period between the last council meeting, I've continued to work with Shanti's team in terms of engagement with the local community, with the regional pest management policy review and community engagement generally, and all that's going very well, I'm pleased to say. There has been other community engagement, particularly down in Franz Joseph, and otherwise throughout the region, which I believe is significantly important in terms of our role as councillors. So I seek a mover for that report.
You can move that, Chief.
Thank you, Mark. Seconder. Thank you, Chris. All in favour? Against? Motion carried. Okay, moving on to the first report, 6.1, setting loan term for repayment of Franz Joseph Stage 2 flood protection works delivered by the 1st of July 2026. Colin, over to you.
As we said, this is about setting the loan term for the payment of the loan. A bit of background to this: in September 24, also agreed to a loan to fund the project in phase 2. It's also worth mentioning that at that point the project costs, the anticipated project cost was 7.9, and that was delivered far lower through scope and scope reduction and efficiencies to the cost of just 3.4 million. The loan would be a 60-40 split, and this loan here totals $1.326 million. At that point, so that was in principle agreed going back in time. What we're looking through this paper and what I'm seeking from council is the loan period, and what we recommend is a 10-year loan term to get this repaid. You'll see within the papers there's two parts to it. There's a paper to council, but there's also a paper that was shared with the Franz Joseph Joint Committee, and we seek the committee to come back to us with their responses and their thoughts. We received a response from Lobby Skin, and I've conversation with him, and he strongly supports the 10-year period. There's been a number of reasons for affordability, and the time will probably expect a lot of the asset, but that's covered in that. And he was further supported by Ian Hartsford from the area, so talked quite strongly about that. Part of the papers, and this is the supplementary paper, gives you the impact of the different time periods, and that looking at 3-5, what it means on the greater impact on the properties, but also more broadly. At that point, happy to take questions on serving the loan period of the loan.
Councillors? Andy?
The locals are quite keen to have it on a 15-year.
Yeah, and I can certainly support what Councillor is saying that both Andy and I attended a joint committee meeting in Franz Joseph, working group meeting in Franz Joseph, and the clear indication from those in the working group was that they preferred a 15-year term.
Dollar value of the line again, please, for the rating district?
1.326 million.
Thank you.
I would support the 15-year term. Thank you.
Richfield,
Yeah.
Councillor Ewan,
15 for me.
15.
Grants for that.
So would somebody like to move, so I'll read the recommendation as amended. It is recommended that council resolve to receive this report and set a maximum 15-year loan term. I have a mover for that. Thanks, Andy. Second to Alan. All in favour? Against? Motion carried. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Colin. Okay, we move on to 6.2, Local Government New Zealand Membership Proposal. Go. Over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, councillors. The purpose of this paper is to seek a decision from you on whether or not you want to rejoin Local Government New Zealand. The 4 councils on the coast have received a proposal that would give us a discounted rate should we all join together. So you have 2 options before you. Essentially, one option is to not rejoin LGNZ, and then the second option is to join under the collective with the other councils. At this stage, Bulla is already a member, and the other 2 councils still need to go to council for a decision, so I can't tell you what their decisions are. If you were to join, you would then pay a portion of the $106,000 that is being proposed. So this is likely to be either around 26,000 if all 3 district councils joined, or it could be 35,000 if only 2 of the 3 district councils joined. Other than that, it's really over to you, which you choose.
Got a question through the chair. Is this 106,525 discounted rate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions, councillors?
Yeah, I'm happy, Mr. Chairman. Since we've been with the new entity, who's looking after the regional council business, they've been the most cost effective, engaging. I think over the last 10 months, we've probably had more correspondence, more interaction with that entity than what we had with LGNZ 10 years. I asked the question at the time when we left them, where were they when we put out the flag about one plan cost? They were as invisible as helium. They didn't respond. So we were on our own. So I'm more than happy with the service we're getting from the body that we're organising, especially with the workflow we've got with these flood schemes. And we change overnight. Well, another 12 months after this one, the whole local government setup's going to change anyway, and there'll be an LGNZ will probably change too, because there won't be 70. There's probably going to be 20. So I'm happy to stay where we are.
So are you referring to Councillor to Tiru Kahika? Are you?
Pronunciation.
Yeah, I'll go with
Councillor
option number 1 and not support LGNZ leadership, membership.
Thank you. Councillor Cole?
So I'll go with option number 1 too.
Councillor Campbell?
Option number 1.
Yeah, option 1.
Okay, so let's go to the recommendation, which is recommend the council resolve to receive the report. Thank you, Joe, for that. And to approve A, option 1, status quo, do not support the combined LGNZ membership proposal and remain non-members of LGNZ. Do I have a mover for that motion? Thanks, Councillor Birchfield. Seconder, Thank you, councillor Ewan. All in favour?
Right.
Against? Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could I just note probably an action that really needs to be a letter for you back to LGNZ informing of this council's decision.
Darryl. Thank you, Joe. Okay, so now we move on to item 6.3 in the agenda. Appointment of Westport Rating District Joint Committee Alternate Chair. Joe, over to you.
Thank you. And I need to acknowledge that this is an oversight. It should have happened at the inaugural meeting when we went through all of those nominations of people for all of the different committees. We have just realised that we did not nominate a deputy chair for the Westport Rating District Joint Committee. That is required because that deputy chair becomes the chairperson in October 2026, because we take turns with Buller District Council. So this is really just to formalise something so that we've got their person as deputy chair, and we are recommending that it is Councillor Chris Cole.
There you go. Questions, councillors?
I'll move the recommendation.
I'll second it.
Group, councillor Birchfield, second, councillor McIntyre. And just for the record, the recommendation is it is recommended the council resolve to receive the report, to approve councillor Chris Cole as the alternate deputy chair of the Westport Rating District Joint Committee, and note that consistent with the Joint Committee terms of reference, councillor Chris Cole will become the alternate chair of the Joint Committee after the 31st of October 2026, when the current chair, Buller District Mayor Chris Russell, stands down as Joint Committee chair. So that was moved by councillor Birchfield, seconded by councillor McIntyre. All in favour? Against? Motion carried. Thank you, Joe. Right, we move on to item 6.4, options to Havells Wall 2025-2026. Over to you, Joe.
Thank you. First, I'd like to note that this is really relating to a large piece of work by the catchment team. The reason that I'm presenting it to you is because it's a bit of a strategic question around how we want to fund the work of the catchment team. So I want to acknowledge that they are here if we need them. Essentially what we've done, we've been working with the Western District Council on how to fix and strengthen Havells Wall. I'm not going to get into the technicalities of Havells Wall, but what is, it has become something of a challenge for us, and moving forward with that is how we can fund the local share. So what I've done is given you essentially 5 options. Those were the ones that we could think of to consider for us to pursue as an organisation to fund the strengthening of Havells Wall. Just to acknowledge that the rating district down there has already signalled that they do not wish to fund this. They believe that the work is for the good of the wider district, and as such they believe that it should be funded that way and not funded by them. So I have given you 5 options. Do you want me to go through them in detail, Mr. Chair? Or?
Yes, no, that'd be good. Just so councillors are abundantly aware of what the options are.
Okay, so option A is that we seek 100% regional infrastructure funding. This has been done by other councils. It has limited success, and it's not supported across the rest of the country for us to be doing that. And one of the downsides is that if we were trying to get that now, we would be waiting for quite some time to know whether we would be able to seek the funding. We do already have a share that is going towards the Havells Wall, and that's a 60% funding share at this stage. So the chances, I believe, of us getting 100% are low. The second option is to seek international visitor levy funding for the wall. I need to acknowledge that the Mayors, Chairs and iwi Forum have already put in a request for IVL funding to support tourism. We are awaiting the outcomes of that. So putting in another request to the IVL funding would be would jeopardise the existing proposal that's been put in there. And again, we have no certainty that we would receive this funding. The third option is to use our catastrophe fund, which we have for when there is work that is an emergency to complete. And the challenge with that is that we then would have to seek a way of repaying the catastrophe fund in the future, because we try to keep that sitting at around $1 million at all times, so that if we ever have another emergency, we have the funds there. So this is a short-term solution, but it still has a long-term challenge of where do we seek the local portion from in the long term. The fourth option is to fund it from our existing investments. You could decide to, if you were going to fund something towards Havil's Wall, you create a precedent of us actually using investment funds. My suggestion is, if you were to do that, out of fairness, you should consider also putting investments funding into the other districts or the other joint committees, probably the other joint committees, to contribute either to the debts that they've already got, or to, as in this case of Westport, funding shortfalls that we know that we've got for building that wall. So that would be reducing our investment fund quite significantly, and it would have implications for future interest revenue. So we would need to note that. However, it would also be quite a good contribution to our communities and to reducing future rates for our communities. The fifth option is that we actually don't do anything now. We leave the Havil's Wall as it is, and acknowledging that the last storm has moved the avulsion a little bit away from it. And when we actually consult on all of these options through the long-term plan for 2027.
Thank you, Joe. Open for discussion, councillors. Councillor Ewan.
Yeah, bear with me. The last one there, do nothing now and consult in 2027. Well, I'm not a fan of procrastination. I think we should strike all our own side. We've got a problem. We've got an issue, and I'd hate us to lose money that's already in the table, but not quite in the drawer. We should take it. You know, the visitor levy funding, I think that avenue is limited. It's closed because that funding went to the cycle trail. You know, my priority is a regional view of things, and I'm sure it is around this table, everyone I've talked to in my time here. And I don't agree with it going out of the catastrophe fund. That's myself and Councillor Birchfield were involved with that when it was set up. Catastrophe fund is a fund for an event. If we take it out of there now, it becomes a preventative fund. And therefore we open up a can of worms, I believe, because just recently we had all these river mouths that supposedly we can open, but there's no funding. So we'd have a group of people, oh, well, you've got a preventative fund there, it's good enough for, and say, let's forget about that. But I'd just like to take up an issue with how we could do it with our investment fund. And I think we take a regional view, a regional leadership view here. Our rivers rule our lives, certainly in the big centres, Westport, Greymouth, Hokitika, and the river that's probably ruling all our lives is the one down south with the visitor flow and traffic with the tourism, that's the Waiho. We have 16 point something, maybe 17 in the investment fund. I would just float to councillors that they consider as a regional goodwill gesture to all these communities that are facing difficulties fiscally, as we're all, cost of living, we all know what it's like, that we withdraw $4 million and we give $1 million to each of the joint committees that we're associated with to assist them for their particular issues. And therefore we're not showing favouritism, we're spreading the benefits coast-wide, which is what we're here, it's what our role is. We're not district focused. And ever since I've been on here, we do take a regionalistic view. And I think I'd like to see that continue. But there would have to be some parameters of how that is used, and that's for others maybe, but I just float that proposition and see if it gets a bit of traction.
Thank you, councillor Ewan. Because of the significance of the proposal that councillor Ewan put on the table, I'm going to go around the table and I want the view of each individual councillor. So starting with you, councillor Birchfield.
Yes, I'm in favour of a bit of a distribution from our investment fund to the districts. And to be fair, we've got to distribute it to the 4 major rivers that are causing us trouble. But I think you know my views on the Havel Wall. I consider this to be a very strong, robust wall, and I don't see any immediate threat to the Havel Wall or the oxidation ponds. So my reluctance was to go into this, but the way, if we give the 4 million out to the districts,
Joint committees.
to the joint committees, okay, it's got to go through the joint committees, and that is how it's handled, and it comes back to the council for the final say on where the money goes. So I would vote in favour of that, but at this stage there's no planned work on the Havel Wall, but I would just say I would prefer the money to go to a rock stockpile, strategic rock stockpile down there, so that if there is an issue with the Havel Wall or any other part of the stock bank, south side or anywhere, that rock can be immediately available to breach the gap. I think that's a good investment. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, councillor Birchfield. Councillor Cole.
So I agree with Alan that I think the idea of having that stockpile is really a very good idea, because sometimes rivers behave in unexpected ways, and you may go to all the trouble of trying to head it off, and really if there's something quite a bit different, and that Waiho is an unpredictable beast. So I'll be in favour of a joint committee distribution, and by distributing to Waiho, the other 3 joint committees too would be my preference.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, I agree with Alan. Others, I think it's prudent to have a stockpile there so you can target where the damage is, and then we can be seen to be doing something as well, because we got a stockpile, we're getting damage. It's nice and handy, you can get stuck in and get it in pretty quick, save the stock bank. So I'd like to see a stockpile put there, and the RIF might even contribute.
Thank you, councillor Campbell. Harold, you
Yeah, I wonder, just on this notion of a stockpile, I wonder if Tom or Michael could comment here, because the question is, if you explore the stockpile issue, does that still attract a 60% contribution from the Regional Infrastructure Fund?
Well, can I suggest, because this is obviously something we need advice from our operational team from, Can I suggest that we caveat the distribution of the funds to each of the 4 joint committees, that distribution or contribution, and the application of that contribution comes back to this council for approval. And that gives us time to get the sort of advice we need and make prudent decisions. So that if this council were to run with this application, it would be on the basis that any decision as to the application of those funds comes back to this table. Councillors happy with that?
So with those measures in place, so read out your recommendation, please.
Well, I recommend, shall we hear from you first and then I'll put the recommendation to you? Okay. So.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% in favour of what's gone around the room. I think it's prudent to have a rock stockpile, and the $1 million per joint committee with council's approval to do with the correct spending in the right areas. I'm in agreement with that. But I'd like to oversee where the money's spent. I don't just want to see it disappear onto people.
So that it still gets the RIF
Funding.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah.
Can I just
Councillor,
respond to
yes.
to you, regarding Councillor Birchall's thing, the stockpile? I agree with that entirely. That's a prudent reserve on the ground. Costs money to get, and it's starting work for any potential work that may happen in the future. So I believe it would qualify for the RIF funding. It's no different to things we've done in the past where stockpile on the ground is prudent reserve by our 86 now. So we are actually using it because we've got to produce it, got to get it on site. Now, we're not exporting it to Hong Kong or anywhere, it's going to stay there. So I'm in favour of that suggestion.
Okay, I just want to caution councillors that what we do need to do is and that's why I propose that any decision on the application come back to this council, because we can then get the sort of prudent advice we need in terms of the proper application of those funds. And I also, as chair, want to support the sentiments around this table in terms of the use of the investment fund, because as we all know, the Franz Joseph as a community, as a tourism hub, is extremely important for the whole region and our 3 main towns, Westport, Greymouth and Hokitika, are also strategically important from a regional perspective. Now, these flood schemes and works protect the major assets of the West Coast. So I want to be clear that in my view as a councillor, I'm differentiating the joint committees from other entities because of the regional significance and importance of the assets that they protect to the whole community and to the whole region. So I want to read a proposed alternative motion to this matter. So, Michael?
To answer your question, so you're asking about if you just reiterate what the question was about the funding and buying rock prior to funding being awarded. Was that the question? Is that what you were talking about?
No.
Are you talking about purchase rock and the RIF funding?
If the purchase of the rock qualifies for the RIF funding.
You would have to discuss that with the Crown to see that, because if you buy it prior to any agreement signed, that it can be excluded or will not be included. You have to have an interim preliminary discussion.
And look, this is where I think we need to make a decision today,
Yeah.
but take prudent advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than getting into a debate now where we haven't got all the information. Our operational team can bring all the prudent information to the table at the point that it comes back to this council to be applied. So going to the motion, which I'm recommending based, councillors, on your feedback. Andy, is
What I just want to say, Colin, was like the reason why it'd be prudent to put a stockpile there, because the information we're getting now is that they're saying, well, this toe rock on the Haver wall might get undermined it out. And if we got a stockpile, yeah, as it's getting undermined, we've got that rock there to get straight into it, and we can save that stock bank if we do that. So it is prudent to have a stockpile.
but also, councillor, as councillors, we have got to ensure that we take prudent advice from the advisors and from the people who provide us with that information, i.e. our operational team, before we make a decision. The decision we make around this table is our decision, but we must make it based on prudent advice. And I acknowledge that you're saying, Andy, from your perspective, it's a prudent decision, but let's just make sure we've got all the information on the table before we make that decision about application of those funds.
We just have to make sure that the RIF funding application fits the bill that we're going
Correct.
next year, contribution.
Correct, councillor Cole. Correct. Okay, so going back to the alternative recommendation or motion that based on our discussion around this table, the recommendation says 1, receive the report, and in 2D, and this is as a result of the matter coming to council and being discussed as has been discussed around this table, an alternative recommended motion, which would deal with the Haber Wall matter, but do it in a way that makes it fair and equitable, as said by Councillor Ewan, across all flood schemes managed by joint committees across our region, and that is to contribute $1 million to each of the 4 joint committees from the West Coast Regional Council Investment Fund, but subject to this council's approval of the application of those funds by each of those 4 joint committees. And this is in recognition of the significance, as earlier said, of each of the 4 joint committees to our region. Do I have a mover for that?
Happy to move that, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor McIntyre. Seconder, Councillor Ewan. All in favour? Against? Motion carried. Thank you, councillors. That was a very good debate.
Mr. Chairman, again, that's my last action item. I think given this decision today, we probably need to write to the joint committee, which will include Western District Council, formally of this decision. And the motion that's been carried today.
Thank you, Darryl.
You all 3.
Oh, sorry, and all 3 councils.
Yes.
Yes, all the joint committees actually.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So moving on to 6.5, Joint Committee Consultation Summary 25-26. Michael, over to you.
Council, right, we're looking at the joint committee summary for the environment. So you're on
Page 29.
99.
But I'll read through the recommendations. One, so one, to receive in full. Two, to note the full of the papers presented at the joint committee meetings for each one of them. Three is to note the summary outcomes of the joint committee meeting. Four is to note the minutes of the joint committee meetings. Five is the outstanding actions from the meetings. Six is to note the rating district rate set. Like the information is contained within the paper, but to adopt for the 26-27 annual plan. And number 7 is to approve the resolutions made by the joint committees out and within this document. So the paper is read, but one of the key things is that the resolutions, are we okay with them all? Would you like to go through them one by one? Actually, sorry.
I'm certainly happy with the actions outlined.
Yeah, no,
If there are any key points, Michael, that you want to raise with us.
I don't think there was, so we've gone through it. I don't think there's anything that especially needs to be spelled out here.
Okay, thank you. All right, any questions of Michael in terms of this report? Okay, thank you, Michael. So, going as indicated by Michael, the recommendation, it is recommended the council resolve, and then items 1 to 7, sorry, as outlined by Michael. Do I have a mover for those recommendations? Thank you, Councillor Birchfield. Moved, seconded, Councillor Campbell. All in favour?
Right.
Against? Motion carried. Okay, moving on to item 6.6, rating district summary, paper 25-26. Michael, over to you.
Right. So I'll move on to that. Just a note that out of those rating districts, the New Beach, Googa, and Southside were all mail out. So that were the exceptions. They chose their methodology rather than employment underground. And that's it. That's enough. Right. I move on to the recommendations. So it's to receive the report in full. It's the papers that in each rating district. The insurance summary feedback, the outstanding and new actions, the minutes, 15 rating districts that were held in the 25-26 the rate set that's contained in the paper for the 26-27 annual plan, and the expression of interest of rating districts opting out of insurance. So again, if I can summarise, we'll start off with the actions we're carrying out. So out of the rating districts in the sport interest, there were 217 actions out of the rating districts. We've resolved down to 90. So we're getting through them to make sure that we're communicating with rating districts. There was 3 rating districts that wanted to pull out of the insurance, and we're noting that, and we'll have an action against that. Besides that, I think you're taking it as ready. There wasn't anything particularly that was called out with the insurance, probably the thing that you noted most. People were generally happy. I can get feedback on what actually been said, but most of the rating districts thought we did well and presented ourselves well.
Michael?
Through the chair, just the reason for pulling out, just cost.
The 3 that said they already stated they wanted to pull out and they didn't think it was viable for their areas, for their rating district research. So I suppose they were saying it through Coxon, Taramaka, Pine Creek, and Pennsylvania all wanted to pull out. They didn't think it was suitable for them to have insurance.
I'd just like to bring our CEO in here, and they'll give you a comment.
Yes, I do. Thanks, councillors. The first purpose of this paper is to summarise all of the meetings and the feedback that we had and recommendations back to this table from the joint committees. From the rating districts. But in particular, the key issue here, obviously, are those rating districts that are indicating that they want to not enter into the insurance on an ongoing basis is number one. And number two, those rating schemes that are recommending back to you a lower rating than what the engineers are recommending for the ongoing maintenance of their schemes. Now, those are the two real contention points in this paper. You are not being asked today to make a decision on that. We're asking you to receive this information, have a think about it. You may want to yourselves or in conjunction with staff go back and have other conversations with those rating districts around those key contention points. But later in June, and it's probably sometime after the 16th now, when we have the extraordinary council meeting to adopt the annual plan, you'll need to make a decision on whether those schemes, because you're the ultimate decision makers, whether you're going to make a decision that those schemes aren't going to be insured, and on the issue of the rate strike with those schemes that are wanting a lower rate strike than recommended by the engineers for the maintenance of those schemes. So we'll leave that lying on the table until then. We've got just under a month to have a think about that and any other necessary follow-up conversations. But that decision will need to be made so we can adopt that on the annual plan next month. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Any other questions of Michael?
Just a quick question. What was the date for the annual plan?
So it was going to be the 16th of June.
Yeah.
But now that has to be moved, and we will canvass all councillors to make sure that we arrive at a date that you can all attend in your diaries.
Thank you.
If I could interrupt there, we are recommending that it would be the 23rd of June, which is the standard meeting date.
Okay.
What day is that?
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
third Tuesday.
That's the day we have corporate services and RAC.
So can I have an indication that all councillors are available on the 23rd?
The 16th of June.
I'm available.
23rd, Andy, is available? Alan?
God willing, yeah, I'll be here.
That's good advice to all of us. We're chilled. Councillor Ewan?
God spares the engine, yeah.
Councillor Paul? Good, okay, that's great, all right. So any further questions, Michael, before we put this? So the recommendations, as recommended the council resolve to receive the report, and then the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 recommendations there, 6 recommendations following that. Do I have a mover for those recommendations? Thank you, Councillor McIntyre. Seconder, thank you, Councillor Campbell. All in favour? Against, motion carried. And that being the last item, I just wanted to thank you, Michael, and your team. One of the things that came out of the rating district meetings that I went with the team were the actions being actioned and coming back. And I'm very, very pleased to hear your team on top of those actions and that we will have those actions dealt with in a timely manner. So well done to you and your team. Thank you, Collis and Chantel, for your input today. Also, Joe and Wayne. All right. Thank you all. And I'll bring this meeting. Thank you all. And I'll bring this meeting to an end. And it's closed